G'day guys, welcome back to another episode of Farming Simulator 22, the Start From Scratch series. It's October, so that means it's time for us to harvest the sunflower field. But at the moment we've got bad weather, so we don't want to do the harvesting just yet because wet weather does affect the yield. So we have to wait for the sun to come out before we can start doing any of that. So let's do some of the other jobs that we can get into today. We need to prepare ourselves first of all for the harvest. Pretty much need every piece of machinery that we have over to the field. Here's our canola field. Let's just check on that. She's 100% fertilized, fully weeded, and she's growing. So we just let that happen now until harvest time, which will be in the middle of next year. So the weather, it's going to come right around 11 o'clock, so that's okay. We can probably keep ourselves busy until then. Otherwise we'll just have to speed up the time. But we need to come up and get the wheat field up here weeded out. And we're going to need to grab the trailer and the harvester. Make sure we've got the right header on there for the job that we're going to do. So yeah, weeds needs the weeder. And if we leave it one more day, then we'll have to spray it off with herbicide, and we don't want to use herbicide because we're not that kind of farm. We've also got the eggs to load up as well, so if it keeps on raining we can always do that as well. First of all, I think we should get this Massey Ferguson here, and we'll hook this up with the weeder, and I will do the tricky little corners of this field myself. And then we can get that set off on a worker, and then after that we need to put the extension onto the trailer, make sure that we've got the biggest trailer possible, and we also need to drive our harvester, trailer, pretty much everything over towards our other field. So I'll just do these tricky corners. I'm going to get rid of these corners after the next harvest because it's just taking up a little bit too much of my time. Every time we need to do something on this field, I have to do this little corner here, the corner down there by the other tractor, a couple of runs across the back end of the field down by the road, and also one side up against the trees, which doesn't really bother me that much, but there's too many jobs happening now. We're expanding all the time, so we just want to make it as simple as possible that we can get workers to do pretty much all of it for us. Well, not everything. I do like to do some things myself. Okay, we've done all the tricky parts of the field, so now we're at a point where we can just let a worker run away with the weeder, and they should finish that up quite nicely for us. So the next thing we need to do is probably to put the extension on top of this trailer. We want a little bit more capacity than what's in there right now, so we'll just hook this up and drive around to our little self-service station around the corner here. And it won't cost us anything because we've already purchased the trailer with the extension, but we've just removed it every now and again. And the reason that we have to remove it is because of the silo that we have. The trailer with the extension won't fit under. Okay, I've knocked my generator and my fuel can out to the side there, so we can just, good job that we can pick those up and move them. So we'll just tidy that up a little bit. Hopefully that'll stand up if I manage to knock it like that. It won't, it'll fall over, but that's okay. So we'll come over here, hit R, select the trailer, customize that, put the extension on. Doesn't cost us anything, and that's job done. That is a trailer with a much bigger capacity now. So we will whiz this over to the other field and that'll be ready to go. And then I think because it's still raining and we have a little bit of time left, we'll get the telehandler up to the chicken coop and we'll start loading up the eggs because they are going to be sold in November. and it's a little bit of a job to load them up, so we might as well get some of that done today. Well, here we are with the trailer. We'll just unhook that right there. It's a little bit of an awkward spot for us, but we'll drive around the chicken coop itself and we can hopefully try and load the trailer up successfully from this side. I don't know how I'm going to do it. Probably not side on. I think I'll use the boom of the telehandler to reach as far forward as possible. There's plenty of room on the trailer. There's no way we're going to fill it. We never get that amount of eggs in a year, and these eggs are almost a year old, some of them, certainly the first few cases, but it doesn't affect us in game. It's all about stock. So we do have quite a lot to load up, and it doesn't look like we're going to get very far onto the trailer, but we could probably push forward if we do come to it. So we'll get these all loaded up, and then we'll get ourselves prepped up and ready for the harvest, and hopefully the rain's going to stop very soon. Alright, those eggs are pretty much all loaded up now. There will be a couple or a pallet and a little bit that produce itself overnight. We'll leave those other two there until tomorrow, because that will just make it worth actually loading. And then that'll all be good to sell, and that'll be a little bit of income for us, maybe $40,000 to $50,000. Definitely worth producing the eggs over the year. If you play on easy mode, you'll know that eggs are definitely worth doing, because you get a lot more money. Probably 3 times the price of what I'm getting on the hard difficulty, but that's what I like to play on. So we've got the Massey Ferguson now, and we're going to hook up the cultivator, because we're going to want that pretty much immediately after we get started with the harvest. Because it's only a small cultivator, we're going to want that following along next to the harvester. So we can have a worker doing either the harvest or the cultivating, and I'll probably do one of the other jobs. Vice versa. I will probably do quite a bit of harvesting in this episode, because having 2 workers is going to cost us a fortune, and we have only got nearly $12,000 in the bank until tomorrow when we sell our eggs. But 12 grand is not really a great deal, and if we use too many workers in one day, probably going to bring us down to around about 7,000 or 8,000, because this is a massive job to do the sunflower harvest. Happy to use one worker though to do one of the tasks, and I'll also need to be doing some carting, so there will be times when I use 2 workers, but I don't want 2 full-time workers, so that means I'm going to be busy doing something. Happy to do either or. There are some tricky little corners on our field up here anyway that I'll need to do with the cultivator and the harvester, so I'll probably do the worst of it with the harvester, and then I'll get that started on a worker, and then I'll start on the cultivator and do the worst parts as well, and then we'll jump back into the harvester, and hopefully I'll do a couple of runs in the trailer as well. Obviously there's still plenty to do. It's a busy job. So what else have we got? We could probably take a look here. Sunflower oil, we're definitely out of sunflowers. Canola oil is still going. We've got a fair few pallets up there, and we've got a little bit of storage, but that's just running out, and it's perfect time for it, because now we're going to be filling it up with the harvest. So we might as well take a look at the in-game stats just to see what we've been up to, so you can read all of this as well. Well, we won't be doing much more spraying in the future, because we do the weeding, harvesting grapes and olives. We haven't done any of that yet. Work time, we've done a fair bit. harvesting time, done quite a lot. Sowing, ploughing, cultivating. So over on the right hand side, heaps of seeds used, time played 160 odd hours, only one collectible. Well, we had to wait a while, but now we're ready for the harvest. So we are in the harvest and we are harvesting. It's a slightly small header and it's a big field, so it is going to be a long job, but I'm happy to do it. I quite like being in the harvester. I quite like this time of year. Certainly makes it all worthwhile once you've put all the hard work into preparing a field, and the final achievement is that you get to actually take the crop, and it's quite soothing just to sit back and watch the crop come into the harvester header here, get chopped up and turned into a product. And obviously it's much more rewarding once you actually turn that product into a product that you can sell, because we could just sell the sunflower straight off the field as a raw material, but we're not going to get much money out of that. It's much better to produce it into sunflower oil so that we can pretty much triple our profits there. Much more value for money and much better for us in the long run. We're obviously here to make money, not just sit here and sell the stuff straight off the field. Okay, so I've just done all the difficult parts of the field so that, like I said earlier, we can have a worker now who's got plenty of room to turn around at both ends, and also I've done the bottom part of the field so he's not going to have any problems hitting all these trees. We do have so many trees now on this field. Would be about time that we should think about cutting some down. We'll get some money out of it, maybe turn them into something. But we need the class tractor and trailer set up here, the nice greens. Let's get them on over. Be careful not to destroy any of the crop. And we have our first harvester load ready to put into a trailer. Probably going to be 2 or 3 harvester loads to fill this trailer. So we can just keep it close by and we'll go up and down the field a few times, and then once we've got a full load, then we can think about putting the harvester onto a worker. And we can go off to the oils factory, get rid of that. So we'll just leave the trailer here on the side. We'll keep going at it. And then once we've done that, we'll get the cultivator started. So there's a lot of work here to do today, and it would be nice to have some helping hands for sure, because we've started harvesting a little bit late. If we'd started first thing in the morning, I'd be more than happy to do a lot more of the work myself. But having a midday start is definitely going to be putting us back a little while. I wouldn't even hesitate to say that we might be working in the dark today, and we have to get this field harvested. Well, we don't have to get it harvested today, but I do like to, because I like to just do 1 day per episode or per month. Don't want to be finishing this harvest off tomorrow. Well, I've reduced the size of this field significantly. I've done this whole bottom corner. I've basically made it into a square now, because the shape of this bottom corner is a little bit funny. But now this is going to be easy for the worker to do. He's not going to miss anything. Sometimes they do with that bottom corner because it's on an angle. But we can now let this harvester run away on a worker freely when we need to. So we're just about coming up to full as well, which is a good place for us to have the tractor and trailer where we left it. So this is going to be our second load. So we can now probably empty this out. We'll let it run off on a worker, and I want to get that cultivator started, and I'm pretty much going to do exactly what I've done with the harvester so far, and then that way the worker will be able to run around easily as well. He won't have any difficulty and won't miss any patches. So the harvester's full now. Alright, so the harvester's on its way around with a worker now, and it'll be another load in the harvester before our trailer is anywhere near full. So we are going to run around, do a couple of laps with the cultivator. So I'm going to run a straight line through here, and in that way everything to the right of us will be nice and easy for the AI worker, and I'll do this whole corner down here so that the worker doesn't have any problems, because he will miss something if I don't do it properly. I only have to do a couple of rows just to make them work properly, but I just might as well do it myself, trying to save some money here. So we'll get all this part done, and then we can let that run away on a worker and get back to the harvester. Oh, there we go. We've done a good lap around the field now. Don't really need to worry too much about the side going down the field here on our left. The worker should be able to work with that quite well. But our harvester's almost full, so we'll run on over with our tractor trailer to get that filled up. We're only 40-something% full, so we don't need to rush to get a delivery over to the oil factory. Although it would be nice to get some oils produced ASAP, but not essential. We do still have canola being produced, and I don't really want to have to separate them when it comes to the forklift. So yeah, AI worker has a full grain tank now, so this will fill us up to around about 70-odd%, and then we'll do another load, and that'll be us on the drive over to fill up, to empty out into the oil factory. Now we can carry on cultivating just a little bit more for the worker, and then we'll jump back into the harvester after this. So the weather for the rest of the day, we got a little bit of rain around about 8 o'clock, and time has passed quite a little bit. The main thing is that it doesn't rain while we're harvesting. I don't mind if it rains doing cultivating or fertilizing, but when we're harvesting we can't take that reduction in yield. We need to make sure we get 100% yield out of everything that we have. So as long as it's not raining, we can keep on working with the harvester, but as soon as any rain might start, we need to stop what we're doing. And luckily we can finish the harvest tomorrow if we need to. Wow, what a long day on the farm there. So just gone 7 o'clock at night, and we've just brought the last load of canola up to the field. We can get that into the factory, so now we can go and activate all of that, and we'll see how much we've got. 31,500. So yep, 38,000 and some change. Canola's gone down considerably as well, so that's going to come to a stop very soon, but the sunflowers will take over. So we've got plenty of money sitting here in the factory. We just need to be producing it into a pallet, and then we can get rid of it. So olive oils, we are not doing olive oils just yet. December for canola, and February, March for sunflowers. So that's pretty good timing actually. That gives the factory a little bit of time to just process those sunflowers. Now that factory works very fast, so I'm hoping that that will all be ready by March, and the canola oil will definitely all be ready by the time we get the best price for that. So we don't do this very often, but while we're up here we may as well give this tractor a clean. It's not very dirty at the moment, but it's best to keep it clean. There is a lot of machinery that doesn't come up here and get washed. I should probably invest in a pressure washer down by the cow farm or the chicken farm. That's where most of the machinery does stay. But we've got to keep that equipment looking fresh. This tractor here could actually probably be in line for a service, which is no big deal, but it does cost money obviously to do that. But we want to keep it in top shape. So yeah, just make sure we activate the sunflower oil before we go. 38,000. So we've got 8,300 of canola oil in storage, just over 1,000 being produced, and we've got 8 pallets here as well. So we're probably looking at around about 18 pallets or so. Clothing, the sheep are just not keeping up. Ever since we stopped that, the cotton, the sheep just haven't been able to keep up with producing enough clothing. But it's no big deal. We don't want to exploit the clothing factory because the money we get from that is just massive. So we're happy with the 50,000-60,000 that we get per year. So I said earlier that this guy would have no problem finishing the field with the cultivator here, but obviously because he's an AI worker he has had some difficulty, so I'll just have to finish this piece off myself, which is not a problem. Just at least he wasn't costing us money, crashed into a tree or something and sitting there saying he was doing the job but not. But a long day on the farm here. We have managed to harvest and cultivate the field all in one day, and we don't have to replant this field now until I think it's March for sunflowers. So we have all that time to get a couple of coats of fertilizer down, and then we'll do the planting, and we will have to do the weeding after planting as well. And I'm wondering if I should maybe mix up the crops in this field, but it kind of is just a full-time sunflower field, because the sunflower doesn't last long enough that we can do a turnaround of a different crop, because we need to keep that oil factory busy. But that's a big job done. It says we need a weeder, but obviously once we do the planting that'll reset, so there's no point. Oh, we do actually need to do lime though. Oh, well, that's going to be an expensive job. Yeah, so sunflower planting will be in March, which is fine. That'll be the time that we sell all the sunflower oil, so it'll be good to see how much money we get out of that. And after the winter months we should be sitting pretty rich. So the sun's going to go down and we're going to go down to bed. So hopefully you've enjoyed the episode, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next episode. I might pass forward through the winter months until we get some money and see where we're at.